everyone, I'm Melky and I'm part of the Constraints group, and our presentation is about the usability of online music catalogs. So, our objective was to compare similar music discovery websites and see what errors and confusions come about when interacting with them. To give you some background, the two music discovery websites that we chose to compare and analyze their usability are Sputnik Music and Rate Your Music. And so the goal was to figure out how easy it was for new users to find new and relevant music using these websites. So we interviewed a few respondents and observed how well they interacted with the site. We aimed to test at least 5 users, which is enough to gather insightful usability findings, just as Dr. Pashler said in one of his papers in class. So to test our respondents, we gave them 3 tasks: one pertaining to the homepage, one pertaining to the top charts, and one to the search bar. And so we asked users to give us their first impressions of each function, and we gauged whether or not the user was able to identify the functionality of the site and the purpose of the site. So for task 1, we asked users to find new pop songs to listen to. For task 2, we asked users to create a chart for the top rated pop songs on the website. And for task 3, we asked users to use the search bar to navigate to an interesting artist's page. So the common theme here was to gauge whether or not the user was able to identify the purpose of the page. And this is important because the purpose of each page should be to make it easy to find new music. After all, this is the goal of the music discovery websites, and if they aren't doing so, then they are potentially distracting and hindering the user from finding new music, which is kind of productive to the goal. So SputnikMusic.com was founded in 2005 and is an online collaborative database where users can catalog and rate music for free. Here is the homepage for task 1. So just a few characteristics to point out. We have a main menu bar and sub-menu bar, which are clearly distinguished by their different colors. We have a search bar, we have bold section headers, and we have ample white space. So for first impressions, the overwhelming majority of the users made comments about the lack of ads. They also said that the web page was short and there was no need to scroll too much down. Also, they commented on clean sectioning, as they were able to discern which section was which and what information belonged to which section. And this shows the effective use of white space for sectioning, and it shows that the Gestalt principles, similarity and proximity, were implemented. And so when asked if the website felt trustworthy, we had a mixed bag here. Respondents said that the website looked dated and thus less trustworthy. However, the lack of ads and the clear sectioning and the clean UI supports the site's legitimacy. When asked, what do you think the purpose of the website is? All the respondents said something along the lines of to show different community-rated music. This shows that the user interpretation of the web page matches the functionality of the web page, which is great for the purpose. So diving into the technical data, 2/3 of respondents rated the difficulty of finding new pop songs a 1 out of 5, where 1 is very easy and 5 is very difficult. Thus, the majority of respondents felt that it was very easy to find the drop-down menu for genres and find pop. Why? Well, menu bars, the main navigational menu bars are placed at the top left corner of the page for easy access. Just to note, English readers tend to start reading a page at the top left corner, so having things conveniently in that corner is very great for usability. Also, the genres drop-down list is labeled Browse Genres, just so that the user has a clear interpretation of what this button does and its functionality. And when the functionality aligns with the user interpretation of the functionality, that's really good. And so also, The main genres of this drop-down list are bolded and placed at the top of the list and are also arranged alphabetically, which is a familiar way to arrange a list of words. So after finding and clicking on pop, a few users commented that there was no filter system. So you can't really filter albums by the community rating or the release date. Also, the top rated album section was pretty inconspicuous. It's difficult to find. Uh, and I feel that this is the most relevant information for the purpose. If you are trying to find new and relevant music, you'd want to see which uh, albums are top rated in the community. At least that's the purpose of the website, right? And so having this section be inconspicuous is sort of counterproductive for the website's goal.
Going into task 2, we're talking about the top charts. For Sputnik Music, we can see that when the button is highlighted, it lets the user know that they are on the selected page. There are drop-down menus to select the best album for different genres and years. The albums are numbered horizontally so that the user does not have to scroll up and down to read the list sequentially. Going more in depth with the first impressions on the design and functionality of the charts, the respondents were asked to locate and scroll through the page. Most noticed the ratings at the bottom of each album and asked if those were from the users or from the staff. They were asked to create a custom chart that had pop as the genre and 2022 as the year. The relative feedback regarding the charts tab is that it was very easy to navigate and customize. It was simple and only had 2 options to customize, which shows that the signifiers might be a bit lacking for more specific results. The lists are also very subjective since the ratings are through a community of different people with varying music preferences. Here we can see that the task to customize a chart of pop albums from 2022 is rated to be very easy or 1 out of 5 scale. With the simple drop-down menu of the genre and the years, the respondents were able to do this task with ease. But it's also important to note that it took a really long time to load the custom chart, which most found to be annoying. Although these albums are all considered pop genre, there are a lot of artists and groups that are not as popular or well-known. This is because this genre is massive and there are subgenres that could be added in the design and be more useful to get specific artists or albums to pop up.
For the third task, we asked our users to use the search bar to find an artist. This is what a user would typically see: a short description, some genre tags, similar bands, and a series of albums separated by long plays and extended plays. These albums are listed based on this descending year rather than rating. Overall, there isn't much clutter aside from some of the related music lists on the left side of the website, and it's quite easy to use a search bar to find new songs, assuming you already know the artist you're looking for. Now, the important thing to recognize about Sputnik's search bar is the fact that it actually had a search label. All participants knew that the search bar was specifically designed for searching for artists, not songs, not genres, not anything else, but artists. And the search label was a huge signifier for that. Finally, all users found that the search bar was very easy to actually locate as well as use. It's near the top of the website, which is also consistent with most websites out there on the internet. So users can really use a lot of their top-down knowledge to figure out where that is and how to use it. And importantly, it contains, as previously mentioned, a label that specifies what you should be using for the search bar. This label minimizes lots of errors like searching for genres or songs instead of the artist, which is something you'll actually notice as we now begin our discussion of our next website, Rate Your Music.
An introduction to rateyourmusic.com. It was founded on December 24th, 2000 by Hussein Sharifi. It is an online collaborative database where users can catalog and rate music for free. And our ratings went from 0.5 stars to a maximum of 5 stars. So if you were to look up Rate Your Music on your computer, this is what it would look like. As you can see, the website is really cluttered. Um, there's relatively useless information, especially for new users, and a lot of this information comes from the featured reviews that take up a lot of space because of how lengthy and in-depth the reviews are. So this may be too much info, especially for new time users. And for the website overview, the first impressions on the design and functionality side were that it was very cluttered, confusing, and not very intuitive, especially for people who haven't used this type of website before. And they agreed that this website does not really feel too trustworthy because, again, the clutter mainly due to other advertisements. And the thing that they agreed on is that although they didn't really know specifics of the website or how to use it, they all agreed that it had to do with music and finding new music.
Hello, my name is Philip, and I'll be talking about task 1 of Rate Your Music. So we had the users find 2 albums they like to listen to. They had to sort by pop genre and then the year 2022. So only one user was able to complete it on their first try. We think much of the difficulty was because the lack of signifiers to the possibility spaces that existed on the homepage. There seemed to be a lot of computing queues. There wasn't a lot of good proximity or grouping of the applications or sub-applications of the website. As you know, good design makes it easier for the participant to discern groups, and so that things are separated and there's not really many competing queues. And as you can see right here from the participant quotes, many users found it confusing, overwhelming. They thought everything was cluttered. For the signifiers, they didn't know what the charts meant, so it took them a while to complete the task. As you can see right here, under the distraction clusters of the website. So on the left side, right here is an example of the advertisements that were kind of distracting the user. Many times when they were scrolling, the advertisement would enlarge, and then they would have to figure out a way to exit out or downsize it to get it to that small size. And then on the right here would be an example of some of the side information or sub applications of the website. And then often the user thought that that was important to the goal that or task that we gave them, and so it made it very, very confusing to get from point A to point B, or to make it very direct. So right here is just a general overview of what the user had to do. Obviously, this is a bit faster than the completion time or duration that the average participant had. So obviously, you go through the list of genres. Obviously, go down to pop, and then you go to charts to get the full availability of the music that you would like to select. And then you would sort by the time constraint. So in this case, it would be 2022. And you would update it. And then that's how you'd find your music.
Moving on to task 2. Users were tasked with navigating to the Charts tab and creating a custom chart that sorts the best pop albums from the year 2019 to the year 2021. Upon completing this task, participants noted that they had to scroll a bit before noticing the option to create a custom chart. This proves to be problematic because it's one of Rate Your Music's strongest tools for helping users find new music. Since it's not placed in the field of vision, then it's pretty difficult to find, and people and users can't get the best use out of that feature. One of the reasons is because it has lack of signifiers, which means it's not very obvious on how to complete this task. Also, there's a lot of visual clutter that made it difficult to find. As you can see in the screenshot, the customized charts is kind of placed off in the lower right-hand corner, and there's a lot of other visual clutter that's happening around that. A lot of the participants quoted that the customized charts feature felt like an afterthought. Like I said, it didn't feel like the focal point of the website. Here's a video demonstrating how to use that feature. So a summary of some of the statistics Out of 5 people that were tested, only 20% of participants would likely use this feature again, which is obviously defeats the purpose of having this as a key feature for the website. 0% of the participants successfully completed this task on their first try before they asked for a hint in order to complete the task, and 80% of the participants found this task pretty difficult. For task 3, the users were tasked with using the search bar to navigate to an interesting artist's page. A lot of the difficulties that came along with this task was actually the search bar itself. So although it was pretty easy to navigate, once you click on the search bar to type in either a genre that you were looking for, you have to actually specify that you're looking for music and that this is a genre, or else it just gives you, like, for example, if you were to search pop, it would give you just a bunch of information about pop, not necessarily the genre itself. So it just gives you a bunch of random junk. One of the reasons that these difficulties can arise is actually a knowledge-based error, which is because the users who have never used this website before, they're not very familiar with how this website works, so they're not aware that they do have to make that specification. So a summary of some of the statistics for task 3, 100% of the participants would likely use this feature again. 20% of the participants successfully completed this task on their first try. Again, a lot of the participants actually needed a hint on how to properly navigate the search tab, but once they were given this hint, it was pretty intuitive. And finally, 40% of the participants found this task difficult.
Overall, our users found that Rate Your Music, despite it having a more robust custom chart tool that allows you to sort not just by general genres, but by hundreds of different subgenres and a year range, is overall less usable than Sputnik because it's simply so difficult to find and has no affordances that would lead you to even use the tool or find it to begin with. So both websites had a general lack of affordances. Sputnik at least has in their search bar something that helps you find artists. Rate Your Music doesn't really have any of that. It's very difficult to navigate throughout the website. In terms of the homepage, Sputnik had far less clutter, making it easier to actually find the correct tabs. Rate Your Music was filled with lots of different featured music, featured reviews that distracted from the primary function of the website, which is to use the charts feature to find new music. In addition, there are also some search bar differences. The big one that we talked about was that the Sputnik search bar contained actual text telling you to search for an artist. Rate Your Music does not specify this, and because of that, we had many of our participants tried to search for genres. They tried to search for actual songs, and what they would find is that simply user-curated lists would come up, or a random artist would come up with pop in the name, and so those things were not made clear because there was no search label like Sputnik had. Finally, we have the custom chart. So Rate Your Music's custom chart feature, as I said before, is very powerful, but it's placed off to the side and it feels like an afterthought. It's not even directly accessible from the homepage. Sputnik's custom chart is extremely easy to find because of the lack of clutter, and when you navigate to that page, there's basically only 2 options, changing the genre and changing the year, and they're very easy to find, making it quite usable. Overall, in order to improve the websites, the web developers should really identify what their website's most powerful features are. And they should follow these guidelines. They should be limiting visual clutter, they should be using more affordances and signifiers, and they should be placing important features in the center of the screen and not in the periphery.